Are we ready to go live? Anybody? IT, are we on? Do you know?
Is IT on the call right now?
You're ready. I'm sure my mic is.
I heard someone on there.
I heard something.
Mic is.
Didn't sound like Larson, though. Oh. So are we ready?
Hey, Sam, are we good to go? Okay. I think
Good evening, everyone. Just a little bit late, 7:01. Time to call the Monday, August 5th, 2024 meeting of the Westfield, Washington Township Advisory Plan Commission to order. If we could start with staff noting the presence of a quorum.
Mr. Bunkefist, Mr. Horke,
Here.
Mr. Kahn,
Here.
Dr. Keen,
Here.
Ms. Carlson, Mr. McCarty,
Here.
Mr. Mooney,
Here.
Mr. Neal,
Present.
and Mr. Woodard. We have a quorum.
Missing two, but yes, we have a quorum. Moving on, there are no changes to the agenda. It's as published. So it's time to approve the minutes of the July 15th meeting. Is there a motion regarding these minutes?
So moved. Second.
Motion from Mike Neal, seconded by Victor McCarty. We are all here. So we can do this on a voice vote. Everybody in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed or abstaining? Minutes are approved. Moving on then, if staff could review the rules of procedure for tonight's meeting, which include both an item of business and public hearings.
Yep, so this evening we have items of business and public hearing items. For the item of business, the department will summarize the petition and highlight any changes or modifications since the item was last before the Plan Commission. The department will also describe what action, if any, is necessary to be taken. The petitioner will be given up to 15 minutes to present any changes, and then the Plan Commission will act upon the petition. Tonight we also have two public hearing items. For items that require a public hearing, tonight's meeting has the following structure. The department will summarize the petition. The petitioner will be given up to 15 minutes to present to the Plan Commission. The president will then open a public hearing. Individuals will be given 3 minutes to speak. Those representing a group will be given 5 minutes to speak. Only one member of the group will be given 5 minutes to speak. For efficiency purposes, we ask that those representing a group speak first. As we continue on here, the public hearing will be closed when all interested members of the audience have had a chance to be heard, and all emails received during the meeting have been provided to the Plan Commission members. The petitioner will then be given 10 minutes to respond to comments without interruption. The Commission will then follow up with any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the petition. This may include additional discussion with the petitioner. And then for general rules of conduct for this evening, please do not disrupt the proceedings in any way. If you need to have a private discussion, then we ask that you please quietly exit the room. At this time, please silence your devices. If you must answer them, then please quietly exit the room. If you are attending in person and wish to speak in regard to a petition scheduled for a public hearing, then please line up along the west wall once the public hearing is opened. Please sign the speaker sheet, which is located right here as you approach the podium. For efficiency purposes, we ask that those representing a group speak first. During your comments, please state your name, address into the microphone for the record. We ask that you do not repeat previously stated comments. Your presentation will be timed, and you will be advised when there are approximately 30 seconds remaining. If you are not attending in person, comments regarding a petition, they should be emailed to planners@westfield.in.gov with the petition name or number included in the subject line. Those comments will be forwarded to the Plan Commission members and the petitioner. We would like to remind everyone when at the podium to please speak directly into the microphone so your comments can be put on the record. Also, please mute your microphone when not speaking. If you come to the podium to speak, Please ensure that the microphone is on as indicated by the green light on the base. And lastly, just as a friendly reminder to our Plan Commission members, when you're speaking this evening, just be sure that your microphone is on. That way we can hear you efficiently for the minutes and record keeping purposes. So with that, that wraps up our rules of procedure for this evening.
Thank you. There is no consent agenda, so it's time to move into the item of business, which is a recommendation regarding Osborne Trails Planned Unit Development Amendment 4. Petition is 2403, PUD 07.
We'll wait a minute for the exhibits to be put up. Evening, members of the Plan Commission. For the record, Dane Crabtree with the Community Development Department. The item before you this evening is the proposed Osborne Trails PUD amendment specific to the geographic area primarily east of West Fork Whiskey, north of 191st Street, and south of the Aberdeen subdivision to permit townhomes and provide additional details regarding amenities and commercial development. This item was originally before the Plan Commission for a public hearing back on April 1st, with two workshop sessions occurring on May 20th and June 17th. There have been extensive revisions to this project since the public hearing, with some modifications since the last workshop. Specifically, since the last workshop, the number of townhomes has been reduced from 140 to 120. The number of buildings, building orientation, and parking layout has been modified for the commercial area. The townhomes now immediately front the retention pond, with Street B pushed to the easternmost perimeter of the site, and additional detail has been provided in regards to the on-street parking layout. This item is eligible for a recommendation this evening. David McIntyre of West Fork Whiskey is present this evening to provide some brief comments before discussion amongst board members. Thank you.
Thank you.
David McIntyre, West Fork Whiskey Company. Members of the APC, as a proud Westfield resident and co-founder of West Fork Whiskey Company, I would like to express my gratitude and thanks for your time and attention this evening. Your valuable comments, concerns, and feedback have played a crucial role in shaping our project and guiding us towards creating something even better than we originally imagined. As highlighted by Dane and detailed in the staff report, we have diligently incorporated extensive changes into our project since its introduction. Through 2 productive workshop meetings, ongoing discussions with economic development, and numerous other conversations, we are confident that we are now advancing forward with a project that will make local government, Westfield residents, as well as West Fork Whiskey proud. Apologies. I want to extend a special thank you to each of you on APC tonight for your dedication to the process. I would also like to acknowledge the invaluable guidance and collaboration we have received from Westfield's Director of Economic Development, Janelle Fairman, from Mayor Scott Willis, Dane and Kevin in planning, as well as many city council members over the last few months. The West Fork District embodies the dreams and aspirations we set forth for this site when we first navigated the zoning process nearly 4 years ago today. It will offer exceptional outdoor amenities for the whole community to enjoy, while also creating a residential buffer between Aberdeen and the commercial development we all see happening on 191st Street. The West Fork District will become a premier destination for Westfield residents and visitors of Grand Park alike. As a resident of Westfield and a business owner who relocated his business here, I could not be prouder to bring this project to the Westfield community. So myself and representatives from MI Homes are here this evening to field any questions. But again, thank you so much for your time tonight and appreciate all the collaboration we've had over the last couple months.
Thank you. Plan Commission members, are there questions for staff or anyone on the petitioner's team?
I just want to say thank you for working with us, your patience, and getting to this point. And as you mentioned, it's a much improved project from what it initially was. And I won't speak for everyone else here, but at least as far as I'm concerned, you've addressed all of the concerns that I had. So thank you.
I think I might also mention, this is obviously, as Victor just mentioned, it's gone through a ton of iterations and a lot of input and a lot of things, and good on you for sticking with it. I've only been on this board now 8 months, but I was on a zoning appeals board before. I don't think I've ever seen something go through as many iterations as this. I'm sure some of my colleagues probably have who are a little more seasoned than I am on this particular board, but I'm excited for this project. Thank you for sticking with it, and thank you for being proud of your community enough to build here.
Thank you. Other comments to my left? Anyone? No? Seems there's no questions for anyone. That would put us to the point where we are ready for a recommendation regarding this for City Council to address. Is there a motion?
Mr. President, I'd like to forward a favorable recommendation to City Council on 2403 PUD 07 Osborne Trails as presented.
Thank you.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mike Neal, seconded by Omar Khan for a favorable recommendation for the petition as presented. If staff could please call a roll.
Mr. Bungelfist,
No.
Mr. Horke,
Yes.
Mr. Khan,
Yes.
Dr. Keen,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Mr. Mooney,
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That concludes the item of business. There are now 2 public hearing items. First of which is the Westfield Yard PUD, petition 2408-PUD-18. While staff member is coming forward to get ready for the intro, let me remind anybody, if we have a virtual attendee that is inclined to send us a comment, be sure and type. It doesn't have to wait till we open a public hearing, but send an email to planners@westfield.in.gov. We will pause after the public hearing if we need to, but please start typing sooner rather than later. So, please proceed.
Thank you, President. Members of the board, excuse me, APC members. For the record, Ryan Collingwood with the Community Development Department. The item presented before you this evening is the Westfield Yard Planning and Development District. The rezone request is to establish the zoning for a new for-sale townhome community. The subject real estate is about 11 acres in size and is generally located at the southwest corner of SR 32 and Gray Road, seen on the site location map in front of you. The residential development is proposing both 2- and 3-story townhome products, as seen in the provided architectural elevation exhibits. The PUD proposal permits as many as 70 total townhomes. This petition had its council first reading on July 22nd and is slated for a public hearing at tonight's APC meeting. We have received no comments related to this petition. The petitioner and their representatives are here tonight and plan on providing a brief presentation. They are available to answer any questions, as am I if you have any for staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. For the record, my name is John Dobashewitz. I'm a land use professional with the law firm of Nelson and Frankenberger. We represent the petitioner Grant Communities, LLC. Present tonight on behalf of Grant Communities is Rob Hayes, Nate Hollander on behalf of Fisher Homes, and Jim Schirner, an attorney with our office. As indicated by staff, the matter before you this evening is a public hearing for the PUD ordinance that is being requested to permit a townhome development on the subject real estate. As the Plan Commission may be aware, Grant Communities is the development arm for Fisher Homes. So Grant Community, the relationship there is Grant Community develops parcels of ground neighborhoods for Fisher Homes as the builder. By way of general background, Fisher builds single-family homes in Westfield today in Chatham Hills, and townhomes are currently under development at the towns of Grand Park Village. As indicated by staff, the aerial image on display now outlines the property in yellow. The real estate consists of approximately 11 acres and is generally located south of State Road 32, adjacent to the Midland Trail on the south perimeter, and west of Gray Road. Immediately north are individual parcels, which are along State Road 32, one of which is commercial and one is residential. South of the Midland Trace Trail is the Crestview residential neighborhood. West of the subject site is an agricultural use, and further west of that, that you can see those individual platted lots, is the Bonterra PUD. To the east of Gray Road, across the street, are individual residential parcels within the City of Noblesville zoning jurisdiction. The subject property is an infill site where residential use will provide a reasonable land use transition in light of the lack of State Road 32 frontage for the parcel, as well as the pipeline easement which crosses the property, which limits use in that particular area. You can see it in a very light line right here. This is the existing pipeline that crosses the site. The pipeline can only be crossed with public right-of-way and limited utilities. It wouldn't accommodate the development of a commercial site with parking and other things like that. This is the concept plan for the development of the real estate, which is on display. As one can see, the shaded in a little darker green is that gas pipeline easement, which crosses the site from southwest to northeast. The easement is just over 100 feet wide and has a major influence, as I indicated, on the layout of the real estate, as well as the proposed use. Vehicular access to the property will be from Gray Road, with 2 locations of access to the public streets. A stub street's also provided to the parcel on the west. So there's stub street located here for future development of this parcel, and public street connection here, with those rights-of-way crossing the pipeline easement at right angles. The community will consist of 70 townhomes consisting of a mix of 2-story and 3-story dwellings. Originally, the plan was to be filed at the beginning of May, about a month prior to where we're at now. We received feedback, and the request was to introduce a 3-story product as well as 2-story. So it was originally filed as 2-story, and the request which was made was to add a 3-story component. So we split the site, and again, there's approximately 39 2-story and 31 3-story homes, with the 2-story dwellings, the lighter green shaded area, and the 3-story, the darker green shaded area of townhomes. All homes will be on dedicated lots, a fee simple sale to individual home buyers. Pedestrian path connections are provided to the Midland Trace Trail, and they're provided in 2 locations, one here, and one will be the connection of the path along the west side of Gray Road, located in this position right here. Perimeter landscaping, as well as interior landscaping and foundation plantings will be provided. All of that will be maintained by the HOA, so this is all common maintenance of everything on the exterior. The individual buyer will only maintain a small area of plantings in front of their front door, but everything else is maintained in common through the HOA. There's a significant tree line that you'll see along the north side of the Midland Trail, which is to be preserved. We had a conversation earlier today with the park director as well as staff. I wanted to get their feedback and direction regarding that trail and the existing landscaping. Because the landscaping is going to be preserved on that north perimeter, Chris McConnell indicated that we would need to come up with a plan to manage the invasive honeysuckle that's along that perimeter and coordinate that with our supplemental plantings to provide screening along that area, because in that particular instance with the 3-story dwellings that I'll show you the elevations of which, that would be the rear of the home would be along the trail. So we want to maintain as much of the existing tree cover there as possible, supplement it with additional plantings, and then maintain those invasive species to the satisfaction of the city Parks Department. We're going to present those details at your workshop meeting. We just got that information today from them, so we'll have additional detail of that at your meeting on the 3rd week of September. The images on display here identify the 2-story home product. This is the front elevation, which includes the garage door and the front door to each dwelling. These are the side elevations and the rear elevation identified here. As I indicated, there will be both 2-story and 3-story dwellings. The type and style of architecture is specified within these exhibits, so these will be attached to the PUD, and all the dwellings will be consistent with the elevations that are ultimately attached to the ordinance that is up for adoption consideration. The ordinance also includes specific architectural standards and requirements for all the homes, Vinyl siding is prohibited, and all the townhomes will have a combination of and multiple building materials and styles on all 4 elevations. So you can see this is a side elevation. It includes masonry, it includes horizontal fiber cement siding, vertical fiber cement siding. The same types of elements are included on the front elevation, with windows having surrounds on all 4 sides. All 4 sides would have masonry, and that's characteristic of all the homes within the community. This is the 3-story home product. Again, the front elevation at the top of the screen, the rear elevation, the long image on the bottom here, and the side elevation identified here. Anticipated home values will be between 350 and the high 400s. That's the 2-story product will be in the mid 300s to 400, and the 400 plus will be the 3-story home product that you see on the screen now. As one can see, the elevations include design elements which differentiates individual home designs, one adjacent to the other on all 4 elevations. As noted, the builder is Fisher Homes, and the vision is to create a neighborhood of high-end townhomes which will serve as a transition between the existing single-family homes to the south of the Midland and the existing future commercial uses along State Road 32. This last slide identifies the proposed amenities for the location, and regarding amenities, there are pedestrian paths which not only provide connectivity to the Midland Trail, but also interconnect throughout the site to activate some of those interior common area spaces. There are pathways that exist here that'll take you over to seating areas with fire pits. That's located here. Another one along this trail that runs along the south side of the pond on the site, and that connects up with the connection to the Midland Trail. In addition to that, there's a designated dog park area that's interior to the site. Previously, it was identified in this vicinity down here. Its proximity to the Midland Trail and neighbors to the south, we relooked at that and internally identified it to the site so that it wouldn't potentially cause any type of disruption to the property owners to the south. In conclusion, Fisher, let's go up to the first slide because that's going to take a while. There we go. In conclusion, Fisher anticipates buyers who are seeking high-quality housing options, which include low-maintenance living in close proximity to the Midland Trace Trail. We appreciate your time this evening and look forward to addressing the comments and questions that you might have. As a matter of housekeeping, we did have a neighborhood meeting, had about 8 individuals show up to that neighborhood meeting, although we didn't get any comments tonight, there were a couple of questions that the neighbors had that I think I outlined in my presentation. One request that we did receive was for the depth of the pond, and that isn't finalized because they're still going through engineering and determining the appropriate clearance they have to have on that pipeline easement. There's a significant gas pipeline in there, and there's requirements to have either cover or over or under by a certain amount, and that'll determine whether or not the pond is deeper in a situation where we have to connect drainage from the north to the south, or it can be at a typical depth for the pond where we'd be able to clear cover on the pipeline easement with pipes over the top of the existing pipeline. But with that, I'll conclude. Be glad to address any questions the commission has at this time, or of course at the conclusion of the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the public hearing. Open the public hearing at 7:24. Another reminder for any virtual attendees, if you're wanting to make a comment, please type quickly and send an email to planners@westfield.in.gov, and be sure and put Westfield Yard PUD in the subject line. Is there anybody that is in the room that wishes to speak?
Yep, we have no one signed up right now.
It looks like we have a volunteer coming forward.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Canada, and
If you
it seems to me...
Provide your address for the record
my
as well.
address, North Grade Road, 1755 North Grade Road.
Thank you.
There's a lot of construction planned here in the near future. The meeting that was held on the 24th last month, my questions that were asked there were not answered. It seems like, well, when the situation gets approved, then we'll deal with those. But currently, there's a traffic flow problem there. We know there's a roundabout that's being proposed to go in at 32 and Gray Road. We currently know that traffic is backed up to the Midland Trail. Both the entrances are north of the Midland Trail. So I'm concerned about the traffic flow, how that's going to be handled. I don't see anything in this diagram that is dealing with that situation. Whether or not it goes commercial, residential, agriculture, I'm not concerned personally about how it gets zoned. I am concerned about what goes in there. We also know that Duke Energy has a proposed route to go through that exact same area. Based on my calculations, where they have proposed their line to run through, 26 of those 70 units that they are planning to put in there will be in the right of way. The pipeline was talked about. I am concerned about the runoff water. I understand there's a retention pond there, but when that pond comes full, where's that water going? Because the Hines ditch right now is at capacity. So again, my concerns going on here doesn't really matter about what goes in there. It has to do with the utilities that are there and the transportation and the water runoff and the power line. So those are my concerns about it. Okay? I have no questions about their proposal other than where things are going. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that is interested in speaking? Have we received any emails?
We've received no emails at this time.
All right. Well, with the in-person comment and the reminder, we've probably passed sufficient time for a virtual attendee. So if there's nobody else here that wants to speak, we'll close the public hearing at 7:28 p.m. And if Mr. Dobashewitz can address what he might be able to address right off the cuff from the comment that we heard.
While I don't believe Mr. Kennedy attended our neighborhood meeting, I think his mother and brother may have attended the meeting. With regard to drainage, there's a legal drain that crosses the property and then goes across to the east and then down to the south, crosses the Midland, and connects in with the pond that's on the south side of the trail that's within one of the neighborhoods in Noblesville. That will have to be improved, so that's where ultimately water from this site will go. If it goes another location today, whether that's south or west, it'll all be picked up and transmitted. There's actually a parcel that is owned by Duke Energy that runs through here, and that existing tile will have to be improved over into their site south into the drainage network that's to the south, and that's a requirement that's part of the Hamilton County Surveyor's Office requirements. That would typically be addressed at construction plan phase, but I think we mentioned that at the neighborhood meeting, but it might not have been in as great of detail. In addition to that, I believe the 26, or the number of dwellings that may be referring to would be those located here. While Duke hasn't made a decision yet on where its lines are going to go, whether that's along the trail, along 32, through this site, that really hasn't been a determination that's been made by them yet. There's adequate room if they are to go through this site to accommodate. The dwellings might have to get shifted to the south if that is where ultimately it goes. But again, Duke's been thinking over for a long time where it's ultimately going to make its improvements. And I have heard, while it's not a decision, that it's likely to go along State Road 32. But again, they haven't made any determination. If you're unaware of those plans, the utility owns this property here that's got the woods that's behind these several homes, and that's where the substation is going to go, and then they would run a high voltage to the west. They've talked about 32, they've talked about here, they've talked about here. They just haven't reached a conclusion on where yet that they're going to go, and we don't have an influence over that decision. So water we talked about Synergy. complicate it further. Not that this isn't the state is in discussions with owners that are in proximity to the intersection here. The state, my last understanding of it was that they're going to do a roundabout there to replace the signal, and most of the improvements are going to come along the south side. The family that lives here attended our neighborhood meeting, and they indicated to us that the state's going to take an additional 90 feet off the south side of the State Road 32, or at least that's what they heard. So I'm not making that news. I'm just letting you know what they shared with us. And again, nothing's happened, so they haven't taken any from where Bob Roby's office used to be here, or this corner parcel. But my understanding is that the improvements are going to come along the south side, and when those improvements take place, we'll be in the same boat as others in determining what the routes are for while that construction is going on.
Okay, thank you. The neighborhood in Noblesville that you referenced, there's
It's Slater
Slater
something,
Run.
there's Ridge Farm
Slater
and
Run.
something else.
There is a small pond that is immediately adjacent to the trail, but then a much larger one that is on the other side of Waterhaven Drive.
And I think the legal drain connects between the two, but the legal drain crosses Gray Road, goes through PSI's property, and then south to connect into that pond.
So the Slater Run folks probably are not going to be that significantly impacted to be able to accommodate the water, hopefully. So, all right. Other Plan Commission members that have questions or comments for staff or the petitioner's team?
Yeah, just to kind of help catch my fellow PCM members up to speed, this was initially proposed back in 2022, and it was Fisher Homes doing so. They ultimately withdrew because of the feedback that they were receiving at the time, but only Bob and myself were on APC at that time, so I just wanted to let everyone know that this has been seen before. It was a little bit different layout at the time, and because of comparing the previous layout as well as the kind of the concept designs of the three-story townhomes, I still see that more favorable, and I know I've mentioned this to you guys before, but see that more favorable than what we see today. And then just trying to help address my fellow counselor concerns. When you look at other similar projects you're doing in Hamilton County, I found the Hamilton Walk Tustin model in Geist. A concern mentioned at council was just having improved side facade, whether it be brick from the 3 foot it is currently all the way up to the roof line. And in that model in Geist, you can see the brick go all the way up to the roof line. So I know that's a concern from my council members wanting to have improvements there on the more visible locations off of Gray Road. And then also the other concern I know is the layout with the south side of the development that's near Midland. And I've been trying to rack my brain on how to fix that, because obviously we don't want to tear down the trees. The only thing I could think of would be moving the entrance, the southern entrance, down further to be parallel with the Midland, and then you would have all of the front facades of the townhomes lining up on the road there. Similar to what we just saw, that the Osborne Trails Amendment that they did, where they extended the road north, and then all the front facades are on that road there. But other than the reconfiguration, I don't know how to best address that. I'm sure that's something we can explore, workshop, or other conversations.
Yeah, and we are taking a look at all that. This is that elevation you're talking about, and where there's more visible elevations in the site. If we go back, such as these end elevations that are more visible, we'll take a look at that to add additional enhancements. We're already talking about more masonry on those 3-story dwellings, where it would be either first floor or adding to the side elevations. Regarding this space here that's along the Midland, we were asked to enhance the architecture, and I can share with the Plan Commission kind of the work in process that we have currently. If I can reduce that down. This kind of tells you the story about where the homes are in position. This is the Midland Trail. This is our property line. This is the tree preservation and existing trees. We have to put a swale here to collect stormwater. And then this would be the backside of the side elevation of those first homes. But this image here. Let me see if I can reduce it. I think that's as small as we go. So that's the Midland in the foreground. The existing ground cover here, these trees represent the supplemental plantings that'll be added. But it's this would represent that third story. And then architecturally, we're looking at that, and this would be the rear elevation. And again, this is kind of a work in process, but I wanted, if questions came up tonight, we wanted to intelligently be able to share with you. So this is an enhanced rear elevation of these dwellings that didn't have these roof line elements here that helped break things up. The masonry we're talking about elevating to that first floor wrap. These roof elements weren't involved, and I think there was less definition between individual dwellings. So we were asked as an alternative to, because everybody wanted to see the trees preserved, or at least that was the vast majority. If there's others out there, I apologize. That almost everyone we spoke to says, my preference would be for saving the existing trees, and that's why we wanted to work with staff today to get their feedback on how we best do that. Because we're trying to protect that private space, which is the rear of the houses on one side of us, and the rear yard for these individual owners. So we don't have a situation where people are looking out their front windows towards the trail, towards the rear yards of others. So we have backyards on backyards with the trail down the middle. And we think architecturally enhancing this, supplementing the existing tree planting so that we're creating a screen and a buffer there, and then best addressing our drainage utilities, and that is going to be the direction we want to go along the south perimeter. There'll be an opening here for the trail, but we'll continue to work on that and then report back to the Plan Commission at your workshop meeting with some of the solutions that we've come up with.
And I was just about to mention that because I forgot to do so. So thank you for bringing up the roof lines, as I know that was a concern brought up at the council introduction. So thank you.
We're trying to do the best we can with collecting everybody's input and coming back with a solution that we can get consensus built on.
Thank you. Other questions?
I don't know how I've become the pipeline guy on this thing, but I don't know what it is about Westfield's got so many pipelines.
We are rich in pipelines.
I know. I was just looking at the national map. We got liquid, natural gas, but these are high pressure, obviously. These are Panhandle Eastern lines. This one and then the one to its north that will impact the next property whenever we get to that one. Yeah, I think you kind of addressed it. This isn't typically a Plan Commission thing, but and I think you missed my last rant on pipelines with another petitioner. You haven't seen you in a while, Mr. Domashewitz, but yeah, this is not probably a Plan Commission issue per se, but yeah, the depth of that and the size of that water, just because I'm sure it's pretty deep because it's high pressure. But I look down as you kind of follow the pipeline southwest, there's a ton of drainage along that same line. And so I don't know if they know what their depths are or what have you, but I'm sure Panhandle Eastern do that. But this is more of a comment than anything, that obviously that's important, because if that starts to give way in any way and exposes that pipe to water, it's just going to be problematic. And this is what would be considered a high consequence area under federal law, because there's so many homes in direct connection with the line. It always kind of boggles my mind that we put houses so close to them, but if you look to the southwest, there's a ton of them. So for just more of a public safety matter, just because I used to be the state's pipeline safety director, I always put that hat back on sometimes. But I'll be interested to hear, because I've been pigeonholed the pipeline guy now on this board. Hopefully maybe we'll get some more information when we see it.
Some of the things that we try to do today, and this one does the same thing, is to keep it in common area rather on the backside of people's lots.
Yep.
That way you avoid somebody who may misunderstand their obligations and requirements.
Yep.
And say, well, I would like to fence in my backyard, knowing that when they should have known that they couldn't put a fence over the pipeline, but putting it in a common area, there's that extra layer of protection where that's not my lot, so I shouldn't have whether I'm wrong or right, shouldn't have an expectation where I can encumber the pipeline.
Well, and hopefully this line would be 10 feet deep, being a high pressure line. It's not like a center point line that services your home that may be 3 or 4 feet deep, which is obviously more problematic, especially for the roads. But even if someone did build a fence over it, not that you've essentially mitigated that, as you just said, but it should be. If it's not deep, then there are obviously bigger problems. But anyway, all right, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Any other Plan Commissioner questions or comments? I think that's it for this evening. We'll see you at upcoming workshop meeting,
And the plan would be September,
whatever
at
that
the
third
September
Monday
meeting.
is.
I'm looking over at staff. I'm making sure we got the right date. Folks that may be in the audience tonight want to come. That would be the third Monday in September, which I can't pull out of my head off the top. but
16th.
16th of September. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Moving on, after I close all these tabs. Second public hearing is on Finley Creek Estates Planned Unit Development, petition 2408-PUD-19. If staff can bring us some comments, and then we'll hear from the petitioner. And one more reminder, if there is a virtual attendee, please start typing sooner rather than later, so when we get to the public hearing, we'll have your comments. Please.
Yep, so thank you, President, members of the commission. For the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. The item being presented before you this evening is the Finley Creek Estates Planned Unit Development District. This is a rezone request to establish the zoning district for a new single-family detached residential community. The subject real estate is roughly 44 acres in size and is generally located northeast of the intersection at Fremont Moore Road and West 193rd Street. If you remember from earlier in the year, the Winterberg community is directly south of this development. So this is located just west of the Atwater community there on the east side of that red outline that you see. So this proposed ordinance would permit a maximum of 86 single-family homes to be developed on the property in substantial compliance with the concept plan, which the petitioner will share in this presentation shortly. The proposed ordinance also includes language and exhibits addressing architectural, landscaping, and amenity standards. At this time, staff has completed a red line of the ordinance. We've shared that with the petitioner, and the petitioner plans to gather APC feedback this evening and staff feedback, and then they plan to incorporate those changes comprehensively prior to returning to the workshop meeting scheduled for September 16th. Just want to wrap up this introduction by saying that this item is scheduled for a public hearing this evening. The petition was properly noticed and advertised, and staff has received one public comment that was uploaded to the agenda today. And the petitioner is here this evening. They plan on making just a brief presentation that we have pulled up on the screen here. The petitioner is available to answer any questions, as am I, should the commission have any for staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry,
Before you get underway,
for staff, the board, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, received extensive comment from Councilor Herron. Has that been entered into the public record as well? Or are you guys aware of it?
Yes, we are aware of that comment, and that's been circulated with Plan Commission members and the petitioner.
Okay, very good, thank you.
okay. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Weston. My name is Dominic Dreyer. I'm with Silverthorne Homes. I've also got with me today Sean Downey, our VP of Land Acquisition and Land Entitlement, in case he might need to speak later on. Not to be super duplicative, but this is the overlay here. So we're at the corner of 193rd, or behind these Pictor Estate lots, and Fremont Moore Road. As Weston mentioned, the Winterberg Estate, or Winterberg development is directly to the south there. We have Atwater development to the east. Do I have control here? Is that? Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. Here's the site plan that we've put together. That's part of our PUD ordinance. And to orient everyone, this is laid on its side, so north is actually the left side there. As you can see, we've got entrances off of Fremont Moore Road and 193rd Street. We are approximately 44.31 acres for this dogleg, I guess, L-shaped development here. Currently zoned AG SF1, looking to zone PUD. This current layout has a density of 1.9 units per acre, so and 84 homes, so a fairly moderate or smaller size subdivision here. Preservation of open space. We are currently holding on to 17.28 acres. That's just under 40%. Sorry, maybe I can make it smaller. Oh, whatever. As well as incorporating other active and passive recreation areas. You can see right here we have a community garden that we're planning that'll be accessed via trail. This currently is a open amenity space area. We've a lot of these lots are backed up to large amounts of open space, which I think will be very nice for the neighbors adjoining the backing up to the property, as well as those individuals who will one day live in those homes. We're presenting for this project our Silverthorne homes. This is a traditional single-family product, and I don't believe I mentioned, but these are on 70 by 135-foot lots. Our Silverthorne homes, we have 12 floor plans. Each one of those floor plans has multiple elevations, brick styles, that really add a whole bunch of diversity to the Silverthorne product line. These are single, and two-story floor plans. They can range from 1,800 to 3,200 square feet. We have a design center at our home office, and that everyone comes in through who purchases a home and gets to choose those finishes, those elevations, those colors. So a lot of personalization is given to our future home buyers. I wanted to put together some character exhibits. There are some also attached to the PUD ordinance, probably a few more than this, but just to give everyone an idea of the diversity in architectural styles that ranges in these Silverthorne homes. So we have designated some architectural enhancements for our corner and perimeter home sites. Those are shown by the zeros or O's and asterisks throughout the neighborhood on the corner lots, and those would have additional brick or some type of enclosed sun porch, something along those measures. Especially those sides that are facing any type of street. Talking about road layout and connectivity, we are stubbing into the Atwater development. They had a stub there already, so we think that'll be a great connection to that development and really add to the interconnectivity of this area. We have, it's kind of hard to see on these, but an 8-foot wide perimeter walking path on each of our frontages. 20-foot buffer, landscaping buffer here, as well as pretty much around the entire property. I'm having a hard time reading it. And we are lining up this entrance. Our plan was to line that up with the Winterberg development. Wanted to give a close-up on our community garden. We think this is a pretty unique offering for this development. It would be accessed via trail from the public sidewalk here over. We're envisioning, these are concept photos, benches, tables, a fence enclosure, just something, a really nice amenity for these residents to really take it, and I'd be excited to see what that ends up becoming. Talked about buffering. As I mentioned, there's a 20-foot buffer. This is just a rendering of kind of what we're envisioning. We'll be preserving existing tree lines, vegetation where possible, and adding to that where possible. Yeah, and just in conclusion, we think this the site is it's got a unique geometry, so not much we could do with the street layout and home layout, but we think that with what it presented to us, gave us a lot of opportunities to incorporate some common area space, as well as incorporating that into the back of homes, so to buffer from the surrounding properties. Talking about our housing option, as I mentioned, 12 floor plans, multiple elevations. This is a fiber cement siding base, no vinyl community. There are brick requirements as well in the UDO. Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone here tonight for letting us present, and happy to answer any questions and collect any feedback for the workshop.
Okay, thank you. We'll next move on to the public hearing required for this item. Open the public hearing at 7:51 PM. Do we have anybody already signed up? We have one person coming forward. And one last reminder, if we have anybody attending virtually, please email planners@westfield.in.gov. And be sure and put Finley Creek Estates in the subject line. And
Yep, so we have one person that's signing up to speak, but at this time we haven't received any emails.
okay. At the end of his comments, if there isn't anybody else, if there isn't an email at that point, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and
Hello, first name's
share your
Craig,
thoughts.
last name's Coy, K-O-O-Y. I live on 19401 Fremont Moore Road. I'm representing myself. My other here on behalf of my father, who lives right here, 19345 Fremont Moore Road. Couple concerns. One goes back to this, dealing with safety issue. I don't know if it was addressed when we talked about on this subdivision, but there is a small hill here. Going down this road, even backing out of my dad's barn back in this area, I can't see down this hill. I do know I've went down here and I've actually stood down there. Unless they build this up, you cannot see in this direction if there's a car coming at all. The second concern I have is dealing with the safety of the back of my property. Currently, farmers like myself here, another farmer here, we take care of the coyote population how we need to. With that being said, being now with subdivisions moving in so close, we're setting up traps. So I do set up traps, and we'll be setting up traps back in this area in my woods. My concern is what kind of protection besides signage. I can put signage up, but my concerns would be kids see woods, what do they want to do? Go play in the woods. What kind of safety can we actually guarantee for these kids not to do something stupid and come in the woods and run into a trap that's designed for a coyote, not for a small child? Second thing is, this area right here is where my septic field is located. When I did my septic field, I hit a clay tile. I assume that county came out and inspected it, said it was a good working tile. It goes back somewhere to the main drainage ditch. I also do know there's numerous tiles through his field and this field that connect to this. I don't know where the existing one is. Is this the existing? Is that what it's saying? Can anybody help me on that? Because here's the rerouted one.
I believe the existing.
This one?
Do you wanna-
Yeah, if you can show me where the existing is, because like I said, mine had water going through, so it was a good line to tap into, but I can't see exactly where the existing was. I do know my neighbors just between us there, they tapped into a line. Yeah, I know it's over there. It comes across, but from where?
Continues.
Okay. I do know for a fact that there is other lines that come through here down. Mind you, those aren't maintained by the county. That was put in by the farmer back in the day, old clay tiles. I do know for a fact my neighbor here who has water drainage problem has a tile going back that connects into one back in this area. I know that because I grew up right here and I remember the whole entire process of him putting it in. That is a concern. My other concern is 1,800 square foot, goes back to what I originally said. He didn't put a price tag on these. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Atwater's a prime example of what we don't need to be doing. If you looked at their home sales this year, it's utterly low. And again, entry-level homes is $350. Despite what the lawyer said last time, not many people can afford a $350 home. Get on Zillow, look, $350 is entry-level for Westfield. I'd like to see these homes, not at the 1,800 square foot, but larger homes. You know, let's start bringing up the price so we can actually have higher taxable income for our school systems, continue forward. That's great, we're building townhouses and everything else, high density, great, not a problem. But, yeah, that's okay, we're trying to figure out the drainage ditch. You got my notes, thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that is interested in speaking on this petition? And if the
Yeah, we have no one else. We have no one else signed up at this time,
and no emails?
and no emails at this time.
Okay. Then at 7:55, I will close the public hearing. So if either of the petitioner's representatives have the ability to comment on what we've just heard, please do so. If you don't, then let us know, and we'll need to work that out, and you will probably want to meet with the residents.
Good evening, Sean Downey, Vice President with Arbor Homes. Our office is at 9225 Harrison Park Court, Indianapolis. Kind of touching on a couple of Mr. Coy's questions. In regards to the drainage tiles, those are things we deal with on every development we do. We recognize we can't cut off people's drainage systems as they exist today. So as we move into the next phases of this, we will have a lot of storm sewer designs for rear yards, for swales, capturing drainage on our sites. So with those new storm sewer systems, we'll be able to tie in any existing drainage tiles into that. So we certainly recognize we can't just create a problem for our, our neighbors adjacent to us. So in regards to the question on home prices and home sizes, this is our Silverthorne product. So this is our highest end product at Arbor Homes. For us, this is a second-time home buyer, a move-up home buyer. We would anticipate just the average sales prices for these being in the mid-500s. So, as much up to 600, maybe down to low fives, depending on what the buyer selects for their selections. So we don't look at this kind of in the same light as the Atwater project as far as a, entry-level attainable housing. Like Dominic noted, just with the geometry of this project, we kind of look at this a little different than our normal subdivisions. This is kind of a quaint subdivision for us, 84 lots, our bigger Silverthorne product. That's why we're kind of introducing some of these amenity areas that aren't as active, allows the residents to utilize a community garden or an active open green space area, things like that. So,
Thank you. Fellow commissioners, questions or comments for staff or the petitioner?
Yeah, I'll start it off. So unfortunately, I had kind of a difficult day because of a prior Silverthorne development, which is Somerset. I got calls, messages, even had a meeting with a resident, and just how their area has been treated with the tearing down of trees and so forth. So that was kind of a difficult day for me, just being able to interact with, I enjoyed interacting with them, but difficult conversations on how that area has been handled. So I drove through Somerset, I drove through Orchard View, so kind of addressing fellow counselor concerns, because as mentioned, I know other comments have been submitted. I think things can be beefed up a little bit here. In Orchard View, you have an active amenity. It's not a playground, but active amenities that might be able to be utilized here, maybe around the community garden, so forth. Then also that open space that's kind of in that cul-de-sac, the U shape, maybe a gazebo or just some other meeting space that could be there for the residents. I know also discussion revolving around removing the homes that were identified with the O's, for lack of a better term, just due to proximity to the road. And then also just going back to the conversation of preserving trees. For this, I wouldn't say 20 feet is enough. I'd have to say go up to 40 feet, just because wanting to preserve as much as we possibly can to make sure these neighbors are treated right. But regardless, maybe that'll help other counselors in their view of this. For me currently, I don't think this is the right product for the area. I would prefer to see something similar to something that was approved a couple years ago, Sycamore Glen. That's kind of a higher end product, especially as we move out northwest here, and we're on the border of the current comprehensive plan. I know we're going to be updating that and so forth, but as we move more out towards those estate lots, I think that would be a better transition as opposed to what's being currently presented. So those are just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioners with questions or comments?
No, thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President. My thoughts on it are I appreciate the idea of the community garden, but I'm also a bigger advocate of activities and kids being able to burn their energy and neighbors being able to collect, gather for recreational activities. So if you've looked at several of the neighborhoods that we've been approving, they have some of those activities with that. So I would, me personally, like to see something that involves active play of some sort for the neighborhood, so that we can make sure people still move around.
I just have a couple questions. One's for clarification. 20-foot buffer pretty much around the entire development, is that correct? How high are the buffers, particularly along the roadways, entrances, and the behind area separating the, we're concerned with the individual, 6 individual lots back there, how high the buffering would be there?
In speaking to the buffers at the entrances, I don't know that we've identified a specific height or anything. Ideally, as we go into our Plan Commission workshop in 6 weeks, those are comments we'll take from staff and you all and try and incorporate. On a 20-foot area, you're probably looking at maybe a 3 to 4 berm you could get in, and then we typically do evergreen and different types of canopy and ornamental trees, shrubs and whatnot. Like I said, the challenge for us here is with the number of lots, trying to make sure we're not hindering the HOA down the road on how much open space they're mowing or how many amenities they're having to take care of. So with that, we certainly recognize that, when you speak to active amenities, those types of things, we're certainly open to those discussions as to what you might be thinking. Like I said, in my neighborhood, we have an area similar to that open space to the north. Kids are always throwing balls and kicking the soccer ball and things like that. So, but we can certainly talk about, adding a gathering shelter or even a playground, if that also spoke to you. But as far as the specifics of the entrances and the 20-foot buffering at 193rd and Fremont Moore Road, we've not exactly worked those details out. As Mr. McCarty spoke to, I've actually been involved with the Somerset project, so I know there's been some challenges out there that previous individuals who are no longer at Arbor Homes had kind of committed to. As a person who was at kind of the point working through all those things after the fact, I certainly recognize that it's been a very challenging project. So that's, from our perspective, that's where we went ahead. We want to get away from our property line and preserve those tree lines. In this case, we don't have as much defined tree lines as we had at Somerset, so we felt the 20 feet was adequate for buffering right now. But we have received comments from Weston and staff, specifically around the Pictar Estates residents, where we are going to look to put some more landscaping and buffering to help those specific lots.
So you'll have that more detail with the,
yes,
at the workshop?
When we come before you in
Okay.
6 weeks at workshop, we will have more detail there. So
Okay, the other question I have is kind of on the curve to the right of the one water feature there that backs up to the woods, and I think this gentleman brought it up, and it was then written concerns to us. And one of the solutions that was suggested in that written narrative was a fence. I've got a little concern personally with fences because of the maintenance over the long term and everything, but I do think those neighbors have, with coyotes and other things, have set traps. It is a safety concern for even the present residents probably at Atwater. So I guess I would just want to have some idea what you think how that situation could be addressed, and you can wait till the workshop. Don't do something off the top of your head. Okay.
Thank you.
But I do think that's a legitimate concern because kids have a tendency to get into the woods, and it's a great attraction, and they play camping, and they do all that stuff. So I think there just needs to be something maybe that can inhibit that to some degree.
Thank you.
Could you maybe speak to the community garden aspect? That's something that I gather you've done in a number of places, and it sounds like you tend to have residents that actually are very interested in those things.
Yes.
What do you anticipate
And
based
that's
on
why
your
we went ahead
experience?
and put some detail behind that, even in a concept level, that, you know, we looked at a couple of these larger green space areas, this one down near 193rd. We do have another one up to the north. We're trying to buffer that resident to the north with a good amount of open space. But when you look at drainage, you know, as we noted, the existing tile that bisects it, these 3 detention ponds are kind of strategically placed along that water course route. So we knew another pond really didn't make sense. In all honesty, as an engineer, you know, ponds are designed for one thing, for drainage. Now, we all know kids, people gravitate to them, but we look at these ponds as truly, you know, they're for water detention and, you know, holding water and moving it on the way. You know, there's a reason we have safety ledges that are designed in ponds. So with the space by 193rd, we just looked at kind of with the number of lots, 84 lots, we looked at it more of a quiet community. We thought a community garden where people could go, you know, grow their own vegetables and whatnot, things like that, might be well received, so.
Mr. President, if I may, I'm sorry, everybody's finished down there. I just want to make sure I didn't. So I'm going to jump back on the amenity thing just because I've heard kind of your comments. Community garden, I have no issue with. Sounds lovely. I'm sure there will be a number of people who use that. But I guess in hearing your comments that the land use is going to be for like folks who are buying a second, like this is their second home, right? So it's not their starter home. We're on our second home in our marriage because we had a kid. You know, the lack of amenity doesn't fit that comment, just plainly. And also, I think, too, some of the concerns, if you don't give kids something to do, they will do all the things that our friend here has mentioned, right? And so that doesn't mean that they won't do it, right? That you can't anticipate that. And also, too, I think if you're going to do amenity space, which I don't know if I could support it without it. I would certainly do it up in that zone, I don't know what that is, an upside down D, I don't know, an N, and not close to the road, because I think that is going to be, you know, as more of these homes come in here, that is going to become a busier road. I think, you know, the city knows that that's coming, and I think I would, when you do it, I hope you do it, that it would be more into the neighborhood than it is closer to the major road. And again, you're right. There'll be folks that play soccer and kick a ball around, do whatever, and there should be open space for that. But I don't think that's simply enough. I think some imagination here would be well received. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I have a random question that has nothing to do with this, but has to do with your comment. As you've seen increase in density, have you seen like the coyotes get worse, better, same? You don't have to approach. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Thank you. Understood. Thank you. No, yep. Yep, understood. Thank you.
Is that it?
Well, and to kind of speak on that, I mean, that's just the lifestyle out here. I mean, it's been that way for forever at this point, and as we develop out further that way, and you look at Fremont Road, I mean, it's kind of actually, sadly, how Casey Road is currently, where it's just enough for one car to pass. So we're opening up a whole new corridor here that, quite frankly, hasn't been even accounted for yet in our capital improvement plan because of all the other needs around the community. So it's something to also think about.
Which brings another thought to my mind, and I believe staff indicated that already brought this up. This is not in the city of Westfield currently. It's still our planning jurisdiction, but as everything is brought in a PUD, annexation language needs to be included so that it does become part of the city.
I have a question, maybe for staff or fellow commissioners, because just again, I was on a BZA and not Plan Commission. So this was obviously unique because we have the township. Does our comprehensive plan, and I've not read all 10,000 pages of it, and probably won't. I'm sorry, man. Will it contemplate? Because obviously what we're going to be doing is annexing a ton of land in Washington Township, but maybe further up the way. This obviously wasn't, as Victor had said, this wasn't contemplated in that, right? Because it was in the township. We look to that in the comprehensive plan as we know we're going to be going further north and west. That will be contemplated in that, correct? Again, this is, forgive my ignorance, this is an ignorant question, but
Yeah,
I'm
so
ignorant.
Currently, the existing comp plan, a majority of this property, not all of it, is in the new suburban context, but this would be on the edge. That's the answer that I have.
Because
right
I
now.
did spend most of my time reading the UDO, just so you know. I did do something to prepare, but yeah.
It's hard to answer that question because we haven't gone through the process
Right.
of the comprehensive planning exercise, but I think it's fair to anticipate a discussion about additional growth in this part of our community.
Especially because the road impact stuff that we've been talking about here recently, and obviously these roads are going to be far ill-equipped for what we're looking to add over the next 20 years. Anyway, okay, that was just a question for my own edification. Thank you.
Any other commissioner questions or comments? If there aren't, then we'll see you September 16th or whenever you're ready.
I was just going
for
to add just
workshop.
a few staff comments.
Okay, please proceed.
I just wanted to make sure that, just wanted to get this on the record too. We did prepare a red line, share that with the petitioner. We just discussed items such as architectural enhancements for the rear facades facing the Pictor Estate subdivision. Just briefly touching on tightening up some of the language in regards to the landscaping on site. We discussed that. Talked about annexation as well. And then we'll certainly work with the petitioner on all the items that were discussed tonight by the public and the Plan Commission. So just wanted to add that in there.
All right, thank you. Once again, we'll see you in September for the workshop meeting on the 16th or whenever you're ready. And that does complete our public hearing items for this evening. The other items on our agenda are continued to a future meeting, which may or may not be as early as September 16th for the workshop. And then we move on to reports and comments. Plan Commission members, any questions, comments for the good of the whole here? City Council liaison, bring us up to date on the fun and games that City Council's had recently.
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago, since we had a fifth Monday in July, at our council meeting, under miscellaneous items, we had a proclamation recognizing the American Disabilities Act and a Grand Park mid-year update by GP Director Matt Shrinian. Encourage you to go watch that. Under new business, we had Ordinance 2439, council approving additional appropriation from the operating budget to cover additional expenses. And Westfield Yard and Finley Creek were introduced. And that was all.
Thank you. If I'm not mistaken, there was no BCA meeting in between.
We didn't report last time because Billy was there and I wasn't, so we delayed it. So that you guys have been anticipating this.
Yeah, with eager and
I too was waiting in bated breath, and I am not pulling up the document center as we speak. One moment, please.
Of course you're not, because you remembered every bit of this, didn't you?
I do. It was invigorating, to say the least. That would have been July. One moment, please. A lot has happened since then. Okay, if my recollection serves, the July 9th BZA meeting, we approved a variance development standard to the new Lazera restaurant approach on Park Street. Very excited for that. We had looked at an accessory structure, i.e. a garage structure, dumpster enclosure for Union Bible College of Hamilton County, And then we had the Community Health Network public hearing postponed, I believe, to this month's BZA meeting or the following, I don't know, but postponed nonetheless.
Thank you.
No swimming pools, I'll mention. Thank you, Lauren, every single time.
If I could perhaps call upon staff, if either of you know what happened. I was on vacation at the Plat Committee meeting when Ravinia was in front of Plat Committee. Hadn't heard that anything went wrong, so I assume everything was fine. Neither of you were there? All right. Sorry,
It sounds
everyone.
like the petitioners sat there and talked to each other, and it went great.
There was a quorum. I'm the only one on this body that serves on Plat Committee, so when I'm not there, I erred in not making sure I talked to Justin Wiley to find out what to report. But if staff didn't hear anything, I'm sure it must have been fine. So, Community Development Department, any words of wisdom?
Nope, nothing this evening.
Nothing this evening. Well, members, we're at that point in time where we're looking for a motion to adjourn if we're so inclined.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so Victor McCarty is inclined to move, and was that, Mr. Bunkfist was ready to second that. Everybody in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to adjourning? We are adjourned at 8:16 PM.